Do you think freedom camping is sustainable in the long term here in New Zealand? Hi and welcome back. My name's Fran. I've been on the road for 20 years, in this truck for 17 now. It's our anniversary this month, actually. 17 years with this truck. That seems like a heck of a long time. It doesn't feel like that long though, but it's pretty cool. And also I want to say thank you. This channel's reached 3,000 subscribers, which is pretty amazing and awesome. So thank you to all of those who have subscribed. I really appreciate it. It makes you feel good when something you put time and energy into is something that people will click on and go, yes, I subscribe. So thank you. So anyway, my recent trip kind of made me think a bit about the whole freedom camping thing. And yeah, the councils are getting tougher on it, but in a sense I understand it when I look at how crowded these places are getting. I've watched it quite a bit at Hora Hora Domain, but even Mangakino, Dog Island, lots of places, busy weekends and summer, they just get so crowded. And sometimes the ablution facilities maybe aren't up to the job, which could be understandable, I guess. So, but they've put cameras and signs up in the domain out here and have restricted it to 2 nights, I think. And yeah, there's cameras out there too, but it's still getting really crowded. And ironically, you're not meant to park by the lake because the locals didn't like it, because they felt they couldn't access the lake, and that's fair enough. I totally get that. But yeah, it's quite often the older sort of NZMCA motorhomers who park right by the lake and ignore it all. It makes me chuckle. I'm not into pointing fingers or telling tales, so I just ignore it. It's actually not my problem. So if they end up with a fine or being hassled, well, that's up to them. But anyway, no, the one thing I want to talk about is just the sense of crowding. Really, I mean, I've been on the road a long time, and when I was first on the road, a lot of these spots, you'd come to them and there might be 4 or 5 people and that's it, unless there was something special on, and then you might have more, but that'd only be for a couple of days. When we used to have get-togethers down in the Nelson area when I was down there in my truck, I knew quite a lot of people, and we'd always get together at Kinna Beach and have Christmas there and people's birthdays and things like that. And yes, then it would get a bit crowded, but everybody would leave again. But right now, I think, yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the councils are going to do because of the pressure of the locals. I've looked at some Facebook pages. I actually left one the other day because I just thought I don't need to read this, and it was the Wanganui one. And the locals were having a real good go at the concept of freedom campers because somebody in a camper van had parked slightly outside of the lines. And yeah, you get 200 comments wanting to ban it. The same thing used to happen on the Taupo page, which I've also left because I don't live there and I don't need to read all that negativity. So, but yeah, the locals aren't particularly fond of having that many vehicles in these freedom camping spots, and I'm really not sure how the council is going to address it. I'm quite curious, all the different ones around the country. I'm a little bit concerned that it may all end up not happening anymore because of the sheer numbers. There's a few smart people who are doing clever things, like the whole Kiwi camp thing. I think is brilliant. It's wonderful for people who don't have facilities themselves. They can go in there, they can get this card or app or whatever it is. I haven't actually been to one. And just pay for what they use, which I think is brilliant. So there's water, toilets, rubbish, all of that there, and you pay for it and done. So I think those sort of setups are a good way. I remember talking to somebody who's involved in the Taupo iwi that's taken over 5 Mile Bay quite a while ago. He had a motorhome actually. And, you know, he said they weren't too sure as to what they were going to do with it. But I thought, well, why don't they put a donation box up? You know, still let people camp there, but yeah, put a donation box up, and then maybe they'll have the income to, you know, cover it and also maybe upgrade the facilities, because 5 Mile Bay has one long drop toilet for all those people, and in summer there's just so many people there, one toilet isn't enough. How are they going to manage it? How are these councils going to cope with it? How are they going to, you know, have the infrastructure for it? Yeah, I don't know. There are some good concepts around. The landowner here where I'm staying, he was talking about a thing he'd seen. I've seen one somewhere too, like for rubbish. It's like a big container, and you pay $2, and this you can put your rubbish in this chute and clonk, and it's gone. And you know, that way it's user pays. You're not getting these great piles of rubbish at reserves piling up. $2 isn't really a big deal. I'd happily pay that to get rid of a bag of rubbish. You know, it's gone. So things like that I think are good concepts, and it is going to have to come to that, because I don't think the ratepayers are going to be really happy footing the bill for all the freedom campers. The general consensus of what I'm seeing on these community group pages is that they see all freedom campers as freeloaders, as users. There were a lot of comments on the Wanganui page that none of them ever spend any money in that town. They just come in and want everything for free. So with that kind of attitude in the community, it's not going to go so well. So yeah, I think the councils are going to have to come up with some better ways of managing it, and there also needs to be a little bit more sort of communication with the communities as to what it's all about, and that the people do actually spend money in the towns. I mean, if you go to 5 Mile Bay, which I keep bringing up as an example because it's one of the most overcrowded places I know of. I think it's awful, and I don't stay there. A few days have gone by, and I've done a bit of work under the truck over the weekend, so I didn't get a chance to finish off this video. She's looking pretty spick and span underneath, which will be good for the next COF. It was sort of something I decided to do after the bit of a hoo-ha after the last one, was to make sure she was spot on. But anyway, yeah, about the freedom camping thing. At some point in time, something will happen. Somebody will have a gas explosion, because some of those cookers aren't the most wonderful either that people use in the, you know, smaller vans. Some of those screw-on LPG things, I've seen one of those go bang. And if there is a fire and everybody's that jammed in, you know, that's going to be pretty bad. And then that's going to hit the media, and then everybody's going to jump up and down about freedom camping again and how it shouldn't be allowed, you know. I'm just curious as to what other people think about how that should be handled and managed, because we're going to keep on getting more and more people on the road. I don't know what the answers are. My concerns are just if something bad happens at one of them, you know, that affects people, like a fire or something like that, then things are going to get awfully sticky, and the, you know, public opinion against it is going to get even worse. So how is that best handled? I mean, for me, I'd rather I pay to stay most places I go now, because I do not fancy being that jammed in. I like to have a little bit of room around me, little bit of space, so I'm not looking out the window and watching my neighbour brush their teeth and things like that. That's not what I went on the road for. was to live in some jammed in suburban type of environment, you know. But it is getting harder over the years. I've been on the road a long time, and it used to be a lot easier to find quieter places, you know, where there might be a few people but not hordes and hordes of them. So yeah, put in the comments below what you think are good ideas. This is all about ideas. What ideas are there to manage this influx of people camping, you know? Fact is, it's not going to go away. It's not going to disappear. But I can understand why, you know, some of the local authorities are struggling a bit with the whole influx, and that is more on certain sites. Some sites are fine, you know, there's just a certain amount and they move on and it works over quite nicely, but some of them are just yeah, very, very crowded. So yeah, give me your thoughts. I'm curious. And anyway, if you like this video or you'd like to see more on topics like this, hey, please give it a like. Please subscribe. It, you know, gives me the message to keep making videos. I will see you in my next video. I'm actually heading off this weekend, so I should have some new content with some new places. So lots of love and see you all next time.